So how to face a technical interview? So before we get into facing a technical interview, I think some of the participants today would also currently doing their degrees. So maybe why not we start there, Krishantha? So if a person has joined uh, the university and maybe in the third year or the fourth year, how would you suggest kind of prepping themselves for a tech job?
Um, yeah. Thank you, Sampath. First, giving this opportunity to talk to them. Usually, we talk to them in physical in university last few years, but now with the COVID, we should adapt to new normal. So, thank you everyone for coming. This okay. So it's a good question. How you should prepare, or how what they should focus in the university. So this is the biggest mistake Sam I'm seeing from especially with millennials. So I have like over 17 years experience in the industry, and out of the 17 years, I was leading people more than 10 years. So I led many kind of people, even Sri Lanka and US and other countries as well. So the biggest the problem I'm seeing, especially from millennials, they were distracted. So probably because of the mobile, because of the social media, they're a lot distracted. So they are not in focus, and also they have a little some misunderstanding. It's kind of misconception. For example, okay, I'll take a simple example to this. So we know if you want to build a house, you can find a labor, like in we call it mason bas, right? Mason bas we can find him and he can do that job. But there is a person called engineer, the civil engineer. Okay, civil engineer doesn't know how to build a brick by brick and build this house. Maybe he don't know, he may don't have experience, right? But the guy who's really doing that, he has a tons of experience. He will tell you, okay, mahatya metenda mechara danna, metenda hanuwa danna, like those kind of thing. So that doesn't mean he's engineer, right? What it means, he is capable to do his job. That's it, right? But when something goes wrong, he don't know how to recover from that. He don't know how to handle the situation. He don't know what to do. So therefore, in this industry, we have both people. We have a programmers, also called as developers, and also we have a software engineers. But a companies like a Virtusa, we are looking for engineers. We don't look for programmers, so we don't look for developers, right? So certain Elon Musk tweets and those things, people really keen to understand the way they want to understand this, right? When like Elon Musk says, okay, I don't need graduate people. Our students start to think, okay, degree is not something we have to like with the good GPA and get good experience, so, right? And also people start like I'm seeing the social media posts saying, okay, Zuckerberg was drop off from the universities, Bill Gates drop off from the university dropout, and if they university drop out and reach that, why can't we do that? The problem is they drop out from the Harvard, not from the university you and me go, right? So enter into the Harvard is the extra, you have to be extra talented to enter into Harvard. So dropping off Harvard is very different than you drop off from your university. So we're looking for engineers. Simply, you need to follow every single fundamental you are teaching in university, because I'm so surprised to see these days when we interviewing in the university pass out candidates, they missing very fundamental thing like a data structure, right? They can't explain how list work, how map work, how tree work. Those are very fundamental data structure. Why they missing that? They're missing that because they like those are in the very first year, first semester subjects, right? So how our student does is they learn that, they study that, and they done the exam. Okay, done and dusted. We don't need this anymore, right? Now we need to go for Angular, Java, React, so many like posh languages, but not the Java, those basic structure. That's very wrong. You need that. Right? That is a very fundamental building block of any programming language, right? How because those are language agnostic. Doesn't matter which language you're dealing with. You need to learn. You need to work with those data structures. So that is must. That is my first advice. Learn every single thing in your university, because everything, maybe very simple subject you feel that you know, that's important.
Very good.
That is how
I
you
think that's
should
a great,
focus.
yeah, that's a great insight, and you brought us into a very important point, because this is what we are getting as feedback from most of the interview panels. They tend to say that the students have, they go after all these buzzwords like AI and machine learning and blockchain and all those stuff. But when you go and ask them like simple concepts, as you mentioned, data structures, and as well as object oriented, the thinking, they struggle, right? So I think that's exactly, again, you're echoing that. I think the audience, maybe one point that you need to take into consideration is, yes, you have to have that breadth of knowing all those frameworks and what's changing and what's the future kind of thing. But as Krishantha mentioned, I think knowing the fundamentals and the basic concepts and having a strong foundation is going to help you to start a career, as well as to get your upskill in any new technology or framework that comes. Unless otherwise, it's completely going to change the whole the dimensions. Now, Krishantha, having said that, I know university students are supposed to kind of do a final project, and I know for a fact that final project is one of the key discussion points in our interviews. So can you please give us some insights as to what type of projects that they should be selecting? Because some we have seen they have selected very basic, like hello world type library management, very simple old school projects. So, but also we cannot expect an undergraduate to do like, very complex, world-class, large scale projects as well. So what type of projects are you going to kind of, recommend these final year students to, kind of pick and choose?
um, yeah. So this is how it works, right? So this is kind of a borderline of your life itself, right? So because you were raised as a kid, you were sent to school and you were sent to university, and this is the moment you're just starting your life your own, right? So a lot of students I'm seeing, they have hard time to like shift this paradigm from your kidshood and then shift into the real world. So they're starting to like, okay, this is the final year project, let me to design inventory management system, let me to design library management system, as you said, or let me to design like school management system. No, you're not supposed to do that. Those are something you should do in your first year, or like second year maximum, right? So after that you shouldn't carry those. That is something you should avoid. Okay, so let me to like explain it like this. So I mean, in Sri Lanka, if you can find many people who has idea about medicine, right? Day-to-day medicine, like I said, maybe minor antibiotics and everything. So that means in Sri Lanka especially, we have a pharmacist, we have a nurses, and we have many people who can prescribe a medicine for some of your illnesses, right? So let's say you have a stomach ache or something like that, and you tell somebody, okay, this, okay, that person will say, okay, take this, yeah, you will get cured, right? Let's say you have a minor wound and they say you get infected, you have a fever, then say, okay, take this antibiotic for like 3 days or something like that, then you will get cured. Yeah, of course you will get cured. But the problem is these people had no idea how internal organ communicate with each other, what the role of the hormones, what the role of the neurosystem. They don't have any idea of that. But they know to put a solution and get the result, right? So that doesn't mean you're a doctor. When you're a doctor, they know exactly how these internal system communicate to each other, where to treat, right? So when the system, the output, so what is the time it take and everything. So you need to be a doctor. You shouldn't be the pharmacist or someone that play the role like solve the problem, right? So what you most student doing is in the final year project, uh, just they take some problem and they're solving it. For example, let's say you get a someone coming with a brilliant idea like a traffic solution, right? So you put some cameras on the traffic jams and you just detect that, and some it's a good, right? But the lack is you just solving the problem, right? When we ask question about how you design the solution, right? What are the factors you consider, right? So there is no perfect solution. So your solution also has some pros and cons both, right? So when we ask those questions, most of students are speechless. They don't know about that. They just said, okay, I refer this project, I refer that project, that prototype, and I discuss with that lecturer, this lecturer, and this is how we arrive. No, that is not. It is your problem. It is you need to solve it. So when you're selecting a project, take some problem where you can find in industry. For example, I would say these days, right? COVID is a biggest challenge we are facing, right? Or else dengue, something like that. Let's say someone come up with an idea. Okay, let me to do this, right? So you get dengue reported cases into the hospital, and you mark their um, home address, so where they were resident like the last 14 days, right? So when you collecting those address, those locations on the GPS and the map, right, you can see with the heat map how these what is the trend these goes. Okay, today this from this area it go toward to this and toward to this and toward to this. So now you can add the weather into that, right? How was the raining were these areas on these days, right? And you can predict, you can forecast, and like, okay, so now in the next month, this area, this many patients may be reported. See, it's not a big AI. It is not a machine learning. It's just a simple solution you did, just capture the data and just look into the data and arrive something, right? So now you have to have that big picture in your head. This is my solution, right? And if you can't implement the entire solution, just take a part of that, right? This is my scope of this, right? For a final year project. Okay. So I'm solving this part of this bigger problem, and these are my extension point, right? So I can take it like, so then probably the company you go, or like someone else, maybe you share that as open source, some people may contribute and go. You have to have that big picture always. So what is the most of the time students do the mistake? They want to stick into the frame. Okay, I have a 3 months. I need to find a project where I can complete in the 3 months. No, that is not the case, right? So you have a bigger picture, correct solution, and then focus on solving the major part of that. So that is how I would advise. For example, don't ever select something like an inventory management system. I mean, when in the interview, when I asked what's my final year project, okay, it is a inventory management system for this particular, or is the school management system. Even we don't ask a question beyond that, because that is something anybody can do. So
Right, right. I think that's it's a very good eye opener for anyone who is planning to. Now still you have the option of selecting your project. If you're in the third year or so, probably these are some really good insights that you can actually pick from Krishantha's response, and you can actually start thinking about your final year project. Now, Krishantha, of course, most of the candidates or the ones who will be joining today, maybe they have already missed that bus of selecting, a project, and as you said, to kind of looking at that big picture and try to solve that. So that doesn't mean that you can go back and reverse the time and time travel and change that. And that doesn't mean that it's like it's gone now. You cannot do anything. What would you suggest for anyone who has not gone through the path that you just spoke? If they had done a basic general kind of a project, how can they before coming to the interview, how would they handle that situation if they have been kind of what we call encountered with the interviewer?
yeah, so what you can do is, at least now, let's say you're done the final year project, you've done that, right? So now there is no way like you can resubmit or anything, right? So what you can do is you can figure out a point where you can plug some extension to your project. For example, let's say you're done the basic inventory management system, right? So just add some new feature where when your wood comes into your store, like you can put some GPS tracker into your the transport vehicles and track those and like kind of give some value added feature. Find something where you can show what you have learned in universities, right? So the problem is your curriculum shows, okay, you guys learn AI, you guys learn machine learning, you guys learn distributed computing, cloud, data mining, all those things, but your project doesn't reflect any of those, right? So it just a few your marks in the mark sheet that doesn't help. Find somewhere you can add some feature into that and kind of reverse your design. I mean, reversing the design saying you like the restructure the design, do some POC on the area, the module you have tried to add it. You don't need to implement it 100%, but burn your hand with some POCs, experiments. Okay, how the GPS work, for example, how you can take a vector map and okay, identify the district, right? So if you get the Google map, you have you can identify a district, right? The district borders, right? So how you can count number of houses within that district using the Google map or something like that. That is the test giving out of the box, right? So you can do some research and figure out something. So when you come to interview that knowledge, so when we talk with you, we can understand at least you know what you're doing, at least you know what you're supposed to do, right? So that's we are very like to have people like that. That's what I would say.
Right.
Think some extension point.
Brilliant. That's very crisp and to the point. I think that would be very useful for anyone who's watching. Now, I would like to go a little deeper into the technical aspect in this conversation, Krishantha. So now, most of the time, even though we are looking for software engineers, as you said, that engineering mindset. Now, when we recruit, young software engineers, they mainly look at, as I mentioned, for mastering some language. And usually Java comes as the most common and the most frequently used language. And I was talking to some interviewers of some QA related areas as well. So they also mentioned that sometimes they do not even check the QA knowledge, like the test cases or anything. They actually check even the Java knowledge, because these days the test automation and everything runs on codes. So if we narrow down this conversation into, we'll say Java, since that's the most popular option, knowing that language, when you're coming to the interview, what type of, maybe I'm clueless here, I have not studied Java, but I've heard a few things talking to the technologies, they speak about classes and they talk about encapsulation, security within the code, and code, kind of the standards and things like that. So in a Java interview, I know you are a very senior architect working with world-class projects. So what type of initial basic fresher level knowledge that you're checking at a Java interview, Krishantha?
Okay, so I need to little bit tweak your question, Sam, because I would give one advice, getting this question as an opportunity. So what you need to do is learn software engineering and use those languages as a tools to your journey. Okay, so do not ever adapt to one language as a religion. That's the biggest problem we are seeing. Okay, when people come as a Java engineers, when we give a kind of a different tech stack project like a Node.js or something like that, they say, no, I'm a Java developer. Right? There is nothing like that. So Java is should something. Okay, so I'll phrase in that way. So you need to learn at least one subject where strong subject like a Java. Either it should be Java or it should be C or a .NET or something like that. But C is out of the option because we don't use that in industry anymore for a usual project. So then either it should be Java or a .NET. So, but the meantime, you need to have understanding about other languages as well, right? At least Node.js, and some front-end framework. We can come to that questions later. I hope you may have some question options like that too. So if we directly approaching your question, this is important thing. So as architects in Virtuosa and all the tech leads, we have seen always when people who has a strong foundation, it is very easy to teach them. right? So we know like we have a special training program in Virtusa. Every person who come join as a associate engineer to Virtusa, we send them through a very very deep world-class training program, which covering all the languages in very deep. So where I have seen, I'm conducting that programs in since 2013 now. The thing I have seen, the people who don't know anything about Java, but people who has a strong foundation about the concept and the language, it's very easy to teach them. It's very easy to ramp them up. But the people who come to it the like kind of a weird understanding, okay, double OP concept is this and something, some wrong ideas, it's really hard to fix them because as a human we have a weakness of our brain, so whatever comes first, it's, I mean, we know that, right? First impression is matters, the concept. So the impression you are taking it very first, it's landing is very deep of your brain, it's really hard to remove that. So I would say when you come to a Java interview or a Java software engineering interview, make sure you learn the language fundamental, right? So don't focus to learn something like a very extensive, like a Java API, Java EE, the security concepts, or load balancing, those the posh buzzword. Right? No, you need to learn how JVM works. That's a very fundamental unit of the Java, right? JVM works. Okay, if I ask this question from 100 students, 99 says, what is a JVM? Is JVM is there to convert the bytecode into the machine code? No, that is the most wrong answer ever you can give. JVM is not there for that. That's something uh, like one of the million things JVM is this, right? So the problem is most of the time you were told JVM is there to convert the bytecode into the machine code, right? You just stop there. Oh, okay, my lecturer said so. Then that is the truth. No, that is not the truth. JVM is a very different unit in the Java. So you need to understand that what is a JVM, what is a JRA, what is a JDK, right? So what is the role plays each other, right? We don't expect your like memorized knowledge. Okay, let me give example. Here's are the common answers. What is a JVM? JVM is the Java virtual machine, of course, yes. And why we need JVM? JVM is there to convert the bytecode into the machine code. Okay, where's JVM? JVM inside the JRA. All those answers are wrong, right? All those answers are wrong unless you can explain what you mean. Everyone says JVM is inside the JRE, but when the next question comes, what do you mean by that? None of you can answer that question. That means your knowledge, your understanding is incomplete. That means you have read that somewhere, or either your lecturer gave this as a note to you, you just memorized it and you believe that as a truth. That's wrong. Okay, that's a one. Then second thing is a collection framework. If you get the collection framework, do you know collection framework? Yes. What is a collection framework? It is a list, set, and map. Okay. What is the difference between list and set? Now that the monkey comes in out, right? So the who people who put the memory, so you now vomited that memory. Okay, list allow the duplicate, set doesn't allow the duplicate, list doesn't allow. Okay, now that is theoretical. What the book says. That's not to understand it, right? So if you have a correct understanding, you need to tell me list is interface. There are multiple implementation from the list. For example, array list, right? Hash list, tree list. You can do that, right? So now certain lists are read fast. Now we ask usually why we have that much of implementation in the list. Then you don't know. You just either up look at the up in the ceiling or look at up in the down. No, you need to clearly tell me there are certain lists are read fast, certain lists are write fast, certain lists are search fast, hold. I mean, why we have multiple implementation? That basic understanding you have. That is the way that engineer come, right? The developer, the programmer, he can write this. Okay, list L equal new list and list dot add, list dot remove. They know how to do that, right? But they don't know how it works. But we don't expect that. We can teach you that how to work with the list. But you should come. What is the collection framework and how that works? Generics, right? And threads, and basically about the JVM and JDK, JRE, those fundamental concepts.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thanks so much, Krishant. And also now I would like to open up, I think we are in the almost midway in this conversation. So I think the participants, must be having certain questions. So if you are going to activate the mics, sometimes it creates disturbance. So we have done this chat. We have used this chat room quite effectively in the past. So why not, if you have a question, definitely you can activate your mic and ask that question. We prefer that. If not, you can actually now type in your questions. If you have anything, technical interview, or whatever we have discussed, or whatever other questions that you have, into the chat box. So we will pick it up from the chat room, and then we will have that Q&A session going. So now it will be open. Please kindly share your the questions. So until you share your questions, I would like to ask now. I think Krishantha mentioned that Java, don't restrict yourself to Java, but learn one language like Java, and also to learn all the concepts through using that language as a vehicle for you to learn all those important concepts. And also he mentioned that it's quite important for you to really understand what's going in, rather than just theoretically knowing what it is. So that was the summary. And now, Krishant, I also would like to ask now, these days there is again a buzzword saying that we are looking for full stack engineers. This is a very, very kind of, popular word these days. And you will see even in recruitments, everyone says, be a full stack developer. We are recruiting full stack engineers and things like that. So now in line with what you just mentioned, Java, if you are studying Java, what do you mean by a Java full stack engineer? Or in generally, what is a full stack engineer, and what is a Java full stack?
Okay. Can you give me a little bit like a 5-minute time to explain the why full stack is there?
Actually, I think you should start from there. Yes.
Okay. So here's the problem. People talk about a lot of full stack developers, and they have no idea how this full stack thing came into the picture. And people was telling about the DevOps. They have no idea how DevOps came into the picture. Okay, let me explain that first. So usually, I mean, I'll make sure this not go as a lecture, but I'll bring the point. So usually we were developing the client server base or a web base or a SOA, service oriented architecture, ever till like 2013. In 2013, Martin Fowler theorized the microservice is the way to solve the problems, and this monolithic application will not fit into this the rapidly changing requirements and everything. The microservice is the way to go. So when you start microservices project, now microservice, the fundamental concept of the microservice is you should be able to independently deployable and independently scalable. So that means one team should develop and also responsible for the particular service. Let's say you have a big ERP solution. If you have employee service, your team is responsible to handle everything about this service. For example, the Netflix is the leading pioneer to implement that. So according to the Netflix papers, what they're saying is their development team can decide any feature, develop that, and send that feature to the production at any given time. Okay. So before the microservice comes, Sam, you know this very well. The projects like certain projects in Virtusa, I don't think I should mention the names. I should not. So the certain project in Virtusa, we take like a days to deploy, right? So let's say you want to deploy something, it takes few days to deploy. Why? Because those are monolithic applications, right? So how the difference between monolithic application and microservice has a smaller scope and a smaller team. Usually in theory, we say it's a 2 piece of a team. That means entire team should be able to fit by 2 pizza. So don't worry about it. This is not a Sri Lankan concept. It's come from US. So US pizzas are way bigger than the Sri Lankan pizza. So it's if you not take numbers, it's between 10 to 15, right? The maximum is 10. Ideally, in my team, usually I keep the teams between 5 to 8 or 7. That means you need to do everything, right? So let's say, how about this? Let me explain in a simple way. In your home, right, in your place, you may have the person to clean your garden, right? You may have a person to clean the windows and the walls and all the things. Someone maybe come in once in a while, once in every week, clean the bathrooms and do everything. Right now, travel restrictions, curfew. Now they don't come, right? So now you have to do everything. So that means you know how to clean the garden, you know how to the cut your the lawn, and then you know how to wash your bathrooms and clean. You should know everything. So likewise, when a smaller team given a task like a service, look after the end to end, they need to know everything. So now, earlier in 2013, just after Martin Fowler theorized this, what we used to do is we take a full front end guys, two front end guys, three back end guys, and one QA guys, and like that to our team, right? But here's the problem: you always don't get the UI work, right? So you always don't get the back end work, right? So when you don't have a UI work, those UI guys are idle, right? When you have a back end work, when you don't have back end work, the back end guys are idle. So there's the way this full stack bone, right? So now you need to know not only the front end, you need to know front end as well as the back end, right? So back end people, you should know front end people, you should know back end. Also, you need to know a little bit about QA. QAs should know a little bit about fixing smaller bugs. They are the full stack come, right? So full stack doesn't mean you should master everything. That is the other mistake even our recruiters doing, right? So when they say full stack, when they shortlist, they say, okay, full stack, do you know these guys is like 4 out of 5 for everything? No, you can find people like that. What you need to do is, as a full stack, you need to master one or two areas, but you should have burned your hand on all other areas. For example, Java, right? If you're doing as a Java full stack, you need to know the Java language very well, right? The master level. Right? I'm not saying, don't get wrong. I'm not saying when you join to Virtuosa, when you join to when we do the interview, but I mean in the long run as a Java full stack developer. So you should know Java very well, and then you should know one of at least front end language, preferably Angular, right? Because Angular and React is very different. So usually we don't focus for the large scale project the React, because React is not a UI framework; it's a library. So you should know Angular, right? And then you should know some other like framework like a Redis or something like that, right? And if you go further, you can learn about the GraphQL. Those knowledge we are not expecting a master level, but your Angular and the Java should be in the master level, right? You should know everything. Like the second point of the question is the Java. The problem with when you believe a language and you stuck to the language, when the language dies or when the language doesn't do what you want to do, then you stuck. For example, I'm a Java architect, right? So in my career, throughout my career, ever since my Virtuosa, I work on a Java projects. But my current project, I don't have any single Java code, right? So in this project, we have 80 plus developers, 12 plus tech leads, and but this project don't have any Java. This project completely run Node, Nest, and Angular, GraphQL, Kafka. There are so many other frameworks, but mainly Angular and the Node, right? So if I say, okay, I'm a Java architect, I don't take Node.js project. No, that is not your thing. You're an architect, right? As well as, so when you come, you're an engineer. You're not a Java engineer, right? So don't, I'm saying this in my trainings and everything, don't marry to a language. Just use language as a tool to go your journey, right? And don't believe language as a religion. Because, and anyway, anything like for AWS, don't worship to AWS. It's just a one cloud provider. You learn the cloud, get the AWS to get your work done. When someone asks, okay, go for Google Cloud, right? Someone say Azure, go for Azure, right? And don't stuck to or don't marry or don't believe one thing, because that's not your product. If Amazon decide to tomorrow stop the AWS, so you are stuck your entire life. I mean, you have to feed your family. Now you can't do that because Amazon stop their product, right? So don't do that. So don't, I mean, we don't know. Java 14 came, 15 came. We don't know whether Java will completely stop the evolving from the next year, right? What if?
No,
Then you stop.
I can actually, I can relate to this even from a training perspective, Krishantha. Now, those days when we were doing reskilling, upskilling, cross-skilling, we had time to like, study the technology, put a curriculum in place, develop content, and then run structured training programs in companies. But not anymore, because things are changing in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and for if the moment you are trying to develop a curriculum, the next version has has come. So I think the learnability and the adaptability is something that everyone has to master. That is the skill that is going to be there. Now, actually, I can see a lot of activity happening in the chat room. So let me, access it, and probably we may not be able to answer all the questions, but we will at least try to pick few. First one is, how far the knowledge in frameworks plays in an interview?
0.
Okay.
I mean, okay, let me elaborate a little bit. So they said, okay, Chris said, don't come up with a framework. So it is not the major focus, right? It is not the major focus. If you come and say, you do, okay, I know Java very well, but I don't know Spring enough, that's totally fine, right? But as long as your Java is perfect, right? So what we expect is the not the framework. Again, framework is a product, right? We don't believe, right? So AngularJS was playing a major role in the industry. What happened now? We don't even talk about AngularJS, right? So we talk about Angular. Structs was the heavy, Struct was the framework where people was getting a double and triple salary. But Struct decommissioned within the 2 years. Now it's to Spring. So framework is not important.
Sure. And I think also what Krishantha mentioned, what you read in between lines is, my dear friends, that it doesn't mean that you don't purposefully don't need to learn it. I mean, obviously, when you know Java and you know about the frameworks, you always have an added advantage.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
So the more you know, it's better. But what Krishantha mentioned is, without knowing your language and the principles and the basics, the fundamentals, you running around and learning all the frameworks in the world, a little bit, having so much of breadth is not going to help you. So know your Java very well.
Yeah, let me do a little more thing, Sampath, because it's good that they will misunderstand this. So, okay, let's get a simple example. Let's say someone comes with a very good Java understanding and very good Angular understanding, and kind of that level, right? They have a very good understanding of the backend and front end. Some guy comes, they don't know, the Java concept's wrong, the front end concept's wrong, but they're really good with the Spring Boot or AWS or some the machine learning concept and everything. They're really good on those, right? So I would go with the first guy, because since he knows the fundamental, it's easy for him to teach the framework. I'm not saying don't learn the framework, but I mean don't focus that. Focus the fundamental.
Okay, great stuff. And also, this one interesting question: is there any recommended source where we can learn about what we missed regarding Java? Is another question.
Okay, so
it's
not about the Java, but I'm saying about any framework follow this principle, right? Anything, Spring, Angular, React, GraphQL, whatever you want to learn, follow this principle. You never go wrong. Their official website is the best place to learn whatever you want to learn, because they are the people who build are the people who really know what they have built. Everyone else giving their perspective of that, including me, right? I'm not so special, right? In my videos, in my channel, in my videos, I am giving my experience and my perspective about the GraphQL, right? So what you should do is, not about the Java, any language, go to their official website and read that. Go through the documentation and understand the concept. Then go to blogs and the videos and everything, and then you can kind of fill the gaps and sharp your knowledge. That's the fundamental golden rule you should follow for any language, not about only Java.
Great. I think we're receiving so many questions, but we have to actually focus on the time. We have about 10 more minutes, but we can actually take the additional 15 minutes if we, if this goes on. But now there are a couple of questions. I think it says, how can we learn software architecture through experience or following any courses? When you join a company like Virtusa, actually, that's why, it's very important that you join a company where they can provide you with a career. So I think that's why it is important. So I take this an opportunity to educate you on that. Sometimes certain people might pay you more or give you more, kind of, financial benefits. Now, if you quit and start doing a Uber or a Pick Me, I'm sure you will earn more than what you earn from an internship or your first level salary, right? And then money is also important, but that does not really going to help you to build a career. You will have to work with large customers. You will have to work with international level customers. You will have to work with international standard architects. You will have to get mentored by these architects. You will have to go through that whole journey in order for you to come out as an architect. So I can remember when we were running our future architects program at Virtusa. I think Krishantha also took a very, very active role in grooming. So when you join a company like us, definitely you can actually achieve your dream of becoming an architect. So obviously you have to start working and getting that exposure. Krishantha, since we have little time left, I know this interview is predominantly on the technical, how to face a technical interview. But I just want to ask you, in a technical interview, do you all have some level of kind of importance given for soft skills as well? Like we'll say language, communication, maybe leadership, your attitude, and things like that.
Okay, so answer is of course yes. Including me, everyone, we are very, very concerned about that. Here's the problem: you may be the world best, right? You may be the world best software engineer, but if you don't have a right attitude, we don't hire you, right? So that is a Virtusa, even like most of companies.
Krishantha, sorry for interrupting you. Now, a lot of people keep on saying right attitude, right attitude. Can you give an anecdotal example how a person can show a negative attitude or a wrong attitude in an interview, and what is a positive attitude that you can see in that interview?
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I was saying. So what I mean by right attitude, okay, let me give an example. So we hire you not because you're expert, right? We hire you because we see a potential from you, right? Especially Virtusa, you may don't know this. I really, really should. That is the one reason I'm staying with Virtusa this much like a bond. The reason is Virtusa don't consider much about their cost of improving people. They invest a lot of cost on improving people, because if I tell you, every person who onboard into Virtusa as associate engineer, we are sending them through 6-month training program while paying a full salary for you. You get a salary, you get insurance benefit, you get everything. But what we do is just teaching. The responsibility you have is learning, right? So we put the architects and we give like training. At the end of the training, if you really follow that, you will get like a senior engineer level knowledge at the end of the training. Okay, so that is that much investment Virtusa are doing that because we hire people who we see the potential of that, right? By doing that 6-month training, Virtusa don't sign agreement with you saying you need to, okay, you got this training from us and you got the 6 month salary, so you need to stay at for 2 years or something like that. But we don't see people leaving after the training program because they feel like it is not nice because I learned a lot, right? So the right attitude is one is your learnability, right? Some people comes with like a they think, okay, maybe especially when you have a higher GPA or your batch top or something like that, you start to think, okay, I am the master, I am the guy, so the Virtusa should or the whoever the company should pay me like pay me not the salary, but they need to respect me a lot because of my this GPA or because my this batch top. Respect is something you're not deserved. Respect is something you should earn. That attitude should be there. So when you come like this, I have faced this in the interviews. So when we ask questions, people say, "Oh, that's a very simple question. Why are you asking this type of questions from me? Because I'm a batch top in this particular university." Fine. Then why you can't answer this question, right? So there is nothing saying like this question is too simple for you. But the problem is when we go deeper, they can't answer that question. Why? Because they are full of ego, right? So that is ego is something you should keep away and come to Virtusa, because um, we personally don't care which university you're coming from. because there's a misunderstanding saying, okay, to have a good place in the Virtusa, you should be from this particular university, right? So in my case, I have external degree. The internal state degrees are very different from my IT. It's so I have in my IT degree is an external degree. My master's in India, right? But no one never questioned me, or when they selected me as an architect, or when they're giving a project for me, they never questioned which university you graduated from, right? So that is not something. So don't carry your university, your GPA, or your bachelor or whatever the rank on your head when you come for the interview, right?
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
should show your learnability, your the flexibility, right, and everything. And also, I can tell this to you, but I mean, I can tell, okay, don't do this, but don't put money in front of everything, because uh, money you can earn, right? Earning money is not a problem when you have the right skill set. So come with a, like, as a good team player. Don't be selfish, be a good team player, and show your learnability and adaptability in the sense you can work with anyone, right? I'm open to this kind of a thing. So that is what I'm saying. That skill should be there, of course. And
Yes.
one one
Yes.
one 30 second to add that, for example, okay, since Sampada's example, so if you don't know some answer, right, don't try to lie, because the person who do the interview is no way more than you, right? That's why they ask that question. So what you're trying to do is, okay, in a university we do that trick. I did that, you did that, everyone doing this. When you don't have a question on the final exam paper, you figure out few words on that question and you write tons of words, right, essays. So then the examiner tired up of the answer reading that, he give like 2 or 3 marks for that and just close it. An interview doesn't work like that, right? The first thing I go into interview, and the first thing I tell candidate, I am here to hire an engineer. I am not here to hire a script writer, film director, or an actor, right? So you do not try to show something you don't have, right? That is the very bad attitude you can do. Try to like cheat people, interviewer. Don't do that. If you don't know
That's
something, just tell, I'm sorry, I'm not up to date about that.
That's right. And also, I think now I mean, those are very interesting, anecdotal, real examples coming from a real interviewer. And also, I think if you have, I know our mother tongue is not, in the sense, our mother language is not English. So maybe some of y'all might have some difficulty in explaining those things in English. And that's okay, because again, we are not trying to recruit people because they have to go and, talk in English in a perfect manner somewhere. Maybe for your career it is important, because we are dealing with global clients and you will have to deal with the global team and global clients. That will be part of your development. But even at the interview, if you can tell that maybe your language is not very good, I'll explain it in whatever the comfortable language, or I will try my best to explain it to you. Even with the difficulty, I think our interview panels will be very receptive. So they are mainly checking how well that you know about your stuff. So as Krishantha said, you don't have to be even put up an ego or to show off anything. You just be authentic when you come and talk. Thanks so much, Krishantha. I apologize. I lost connection for about 2 minutes now. I have 3 connections. The dialogue also failed and the mobile also failed, probably because there is some signal issue. Only the mobile hotspot is now working. I'm glad we had the latter part of this conversation. Actually, we are almost over budget, 10 minutes from the allocated time. So one final thoughts, and why you should actually join, any leading company, like Virtusa, is because you will get mentored by people like Krishantha, and he's only one of them. We have some really good, senior architects, mentors within our company from various different, practices. So today we spend a little time with Krishantha. So I request all of you to, so we are not promoting his channel, but I request you to go search on YouTube, Krishantha Dinesh, and then maybe go through some of these, knowledge sessions that he has done. There are some really interesting kind of videos on design patterns and how to become an architect and things like that. Even though I do not understand all of them, I really love watching them because I am also part of this industry. So thank you so much, everyone. Maybe we may not be able to answer all the questions that we got in the chat room, but definitely you can reach out to our team. So we have Tilan, we have Aniston, we have Sueda, and myself, but mostly those three individuals. If you are applying for Virtusa, they will be the ones who will be in touch with you. If you have any questions to clarify before coming to the interview, that's perfectly all right. Talk to them, ask them, get yourself mentored, speak to few people. If you know anyone, talk to them. But at the same time, don't get carried away with all the things that we said. You don't need to fix everything in a short time. We are there to help you, but the main objective of this session is to ensure that you understand very clearly what is the expectation of a technical interview from a person who's really doing it. So
Exactly.
Thanks everyone for joining, and enjoy the rest of the evening, and have a great weekend.
Yeah. One last thing,
Sure.
Sam.
Sure, Krishantha.
Thank you guys, all of you, for joining and staying and listening. And hopefully, probably, you may see in interviews when you're trying to join to Virtusa, I may be your decision maker, your life, the where your life goes. So don't give me a hard time. Like, come up with a good understanding. Now you know what we are looking for. As I said, I want to highlight this. Don't think you need these everything what mentions to join to Virtusa, because there's one guy asking the mostly. I was on a JavaScript. Can I join as a Java engineer and successful with it? Of course, yes. Of course, yes. So I'm a Java architect till 2013. I was a .NET person, right? In 2013, I switched to Java, and now I'm working on a Node.js and all other various technologies. If you go to my channel, and you will see that I'm talking about various technologies. So therefore, there is something like that, right? So you don't need to be perfect, but only thing is you should be trainable. You should have a right attitude to get trained. And thank you very much, Sam. And I don't know. I think we recorded this, and sometime even later you can refer that. And I encourage you, like, you can even find Sam on the YouTube with the various talking to various Virtusa people, Virtusa leadership, saying how Virtusa culture, and you can learn before you come. It is not about promoting our YouTube channel or something like that, but what I mean. So we are trying to do those because we want to share what we get. Like, I always believe, if you get a gift, that gift is there you to share. That's all we do. Thank you very much, everyone. Stay in touch. If you have anything, I don't promise you I will respond immediately, but that is not something I can do. But reach out to me through my social media or anywhere, like in my Facebook page or anywhere. You can shoot the question. At some point, you will get an answer, but not within overnight for sure, because I'm getting like a 900, at least 900 message for every week. I'm replying to those on the weekends. So I will do that for you as well.
And then why we recorded this also, Krishantha, we cannot get you. We don't have the luxury of getting you for these type of conversation. It costs a lot for the company also. Okay, thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. Take care of yourself. And at some point, we will see you at our company or any other company in any interview. So all the best. Take care. Good night. Thanks so much.